How many of you all have been on every one of these? If you have, will you let me know in the chat? How many of these have you actually had an opportunity to show up live for? Has it been one, two? Has it been all five of them? Would love to know who all's been here. Okay, so Bonnie says 4 so far. Alicia says all 5. Sandra finally made it live. Yes, no time like now, Sandra. Aquanetta says 3, Kimberly 3, Craig 3, Shauna 3. Love it, love it. Well, thank you all so much for being a part of this partnership that I've had the opportunity to embark on with the Chamber of Commerce. And like I said, I think I lost my co-host here, but we'll go ahead and get started. And if she comes in, we'll go ahead and get her set up in here. Well, today, like I mentioned, is part 5 of the Stay Strong, Lead Well Masterclass. We are going to be talking today all about community. And if you've only been on a few of these, no problem. Like I mentioned to you all always, that you will be getting the emails. If you just registered within the last 24 hours, no problem. What we'll do is we'll email all the replays. And the good news is that the Chamber of Commerce actually has this housed on their website as well. So we have you covered on all sides. Every time I've been doing these sessions, I have actually used a meme from COVID-19, and it's been something funny or hilarious. But today I wanted to share something sentimental. I actually saw this on Facebook and I thought this was really powerful. This actually was written during the time of the pandemic flu in 1869. And this is an excerpt. It says, during that time, people stayed at home and read books and listened. They rested and did exercises. They made art and played and learned new ways of being. They stopped and listened more deeply. Someone meditated, someone prayed. People began to think differently. People healed. And when the danger ended and people found themselves, they made new choices. They dreamed of new visions. They created new ways of living and completely healed the earth, just as they were healed. I know here in Montgomery, I can't believe it's been 6 weeks since we've been in the COVID-19 state. But I love the last 2 lines. The earth was completely healed, just like we were healed. And every one of you signed up for this because you said that you wanted to learn how to stay strong and lead well. And I commend you for however many sessions you showed up for. I commend you for investing your time. I want to introduce you to some and reintroduce you to others. This is my mentor, Dr. John C. Maxwell. He is the inspiration behind this masterclass series because he wrote a book called LeaderShift. And this is one of his newer books that came out within the last year or so. And this inspiration for this masterclass was from that book. But I wanted to also share with you the other inspiration for me is in the last, I would say, 5 or 6 years, I have been doing training and development and speaking full time. I've been an entrepreneur for going on 16, I feel like it's almost 17 years now, but my focus for the last 5 or 6 years has been in this space right here. And I wanted you to know the backstory. So my focus has definitely been in leadership development and training, communication, team building, and personal growth for leaders. And I serve as one of the independent contractors for one of the independent executive directors on the John Maxwell team. So as we always say, every mentor needs a mentor, every coach needs a coach. And this is one of my mentors that I wanted to introduce you to. So in this Stay Strong, Lead Well series, I broke down the word strong into this acronym. In order to, and you can probably recite it with me now, in order to stay strong, we have to get strong. And in order to get strong, we have to get healthy and honest. And that means being steadfast, teachable, ready, optimistic, having a never give up mindset, and being generous. And just a review from session 4, one of the shifts that we talked about was the cooperation shift. And we said in order to shift to a cooperation mindset, we've got to embrace diversity of personalities. I know, like I mentioned Tuesday, that diversity and inclusion, a lot of times when people think of those, they're thinking of race, gender, sexuality, all those different things. But I wanted to explore it in a different light, and that is through the lens of personalities. And so I shared that as a certified DISC consultant, these are the personalities broken down for the DISC personality assessment, that if we understood each other's styles, it would help us to know how to cooperate with each other just a little bit more, because we would be self-aware, we would be others aware, and we would also know our own learning styles as well as others. And the DISC style is broken down into 4 quadrants: D, which is 3% of the population; I, which is 11% of the population; S is 69% of the population; and C is 17% of the population. And as you can see, 2 of them are outgoing, 2 are reserved. And then we also have our focuses how we show up. INS are people oriented, and D and C are task oriented. And most of us are combinations of each of these. I'm a DI myself. And so again, in order to lean into that cooperation mindset, it's important for us to understand personalities. And the best gift that we could give ourselves is the gift of self-awareness. Because again, if we're going to be that leader that stays strong and leads well, this is an inside out job. So that's just a quick review from what we went over on Tuesday. But today we're going to lean into the community shift. I have probably said this every time, but I'm going to say it again. This is another favorite topic that I absolutely love talking about, because as a leader, we have to understand that we can make huge impacts if we can approach it from a transformational mindset, and that is leaning into the community shift. We can make huge impacts as transformational leaders. In order to change the world, we've got to change it one community at a time. But in order to impact communities, that's going to require one leader at a time. How many of you on here consider yourself a leader? Indulge me will you, and type in the chat, do you consider yourself a leader? I have had conversations with people who are in leadership positions who struggle with feeling like they're a leader. But I'm here to tell you that you are, because all of us have influence. I love this illustration right here with the match. Every one of us can be that match, that when we're influencing people, others are impacted, others are changed in a positive way, every last one of us. So I love all of these leaders that are responding here in the chat. Yes, you are a leader, you are an influencer. If your actions inspire people to dream more, to learn more, to do more, and to become more, guess what? You are a transformational leader. Every one of us have found ourselves at one point of this metamorphosis stage right here. And that's in different aspects of our life. But a transformational leader is not just one who will go through the change themselves. A transformational leader is one that will help others go through their own transformations as well. And Craig, you're absolutely right. All of us are leaders to some degree, and we all carry that mantle, whether we have the title or not, or the position or not, we all are. So I agree with you, Craig. Transformational leaders bring the greatest change to their life and the lives of those around them. I love illustrations. I'm a visual person. So when I look at this, I think about all of us have to get to a point where we awaken to the fact of who we are. I shared in session number 1, I had to go through my own awakening to get to the other side of a crisis myself. And on the other side of that, I started learning more about myself. I started learning more about my opportunities, and that knowledge helped me to evolve. And the evolution of who I am led me to the transformation of what I could be, what I could have, and who I could impact. And it doesn't just stop with transformation. Our journey of becoming is a constant journey. I think we are all, I like to say, works in progress. all of us are becoming. And when we get to the place where we think we've arrived, guess what? We've got to awaken to another level. And so this process never stops. So let's talk about the difference between a trained leader versus a transformational leader. Now, you have to look very closely because some of these are going to look very similar, but there's one degree of separation between a trained leader versus a transformational leader. Okay, so trained leaders know how to lead. And when I think of the word how, I think about the skills. I think about the ability, the education that I've received, the experience that I possess. Trained leaders are liked. Trained leaders influence today. They ask people to follow. They love to lead. They are trained. They help people. They have a career and they impact a few. That's a trained leader. But check this out. This is a transformational leader. And notice I said that with a trained leader, they know how to lead. But a transformational leader, they know why they lead. Do you know your why? Simon Sinek has a book called Start With Why. And all of us need to know why we are doing something. Transformational leaders are contagious, y'all. They don't even try to be contagious. They just are. Transformational leaders influence today, but guess what? They're also thinking about tomorrow. They're forward thinking. Transformational leaders are not just sitting in COVID-19 right now, concerned about what am I doing today? Transformational leaders are making plans for the other side of COVID-19 because they know this too shall pass. We will get through this. We will get to the other side. So transformational leaders are already forward thinking about what that looks like. And they're asking people to make a difference. They love the people that they lead. And guess what? They're not only transformational, they are trained as well. They help people to change. They have a calling. How many of you all feel like what you're doing, it's bigger than a career? It's bigger than the position that you've been entrusted. It is a calling. That screams purpose, and they impact many. So let's look at this side by side, and I want you to find yourself in here. Are you a trained leader or are you a transformational leader? And I would love for you, let's explore this because again, I said there's one degree of separation between the two. Notice I've put in the blue, the adding touches for transformational leaders. Which one are you? If anybody would be willing to be bold, are you, again, are you the person that focuses on the how? You've been given a position, you've been entrusted with a business, or are you the type of person that is really digging into the why? I love this. Alicia says she's a transformational leader. Love it. And I love here it says trained leaders ask people to follow, but transformational leaders are really asking people to make a difference because they're not afraid of other people shining. Sandra says, I'm a transformational leader. I love it. So for the purpose of this presentation today, and as we lean into the community shift, I'm going to be talking about the 5 essentials for transformational leadership. Thank you, Aquanetta, for saying that you're a transformational leader. So when it comes to essentials, it's about the bare necessities. Sometimes we've got to get back to the basics and not overcomplicate. How many of y'all know that as humans, we overcomplicate the mess out of stuff? But sometimes it's about getting to the beauty, the raw beauty of something. So that's what we're going to explore today. And this is going to help you to stay strong so that you can lead well. One of the first things that you have to do or understand about transformational leadership is that you possess a clear picture of what transformational leaders do. Clear. There's no confusion. There is no clutter in what that looks like. You have to understand the clear picture because as a leader, you're going to lead by example. Transformational leaders see things others do not see. When I think about that word see, I think about the word vision. Transformational leaders are visionaries. They see more than other people do. They see before other people do. And they're not ashamed of that. Dave Ramsey says organizations are not limited by their opportunity. They are limited by their leader. We've been given the power of pause in COVID-19, and all of us have been given an opportunity to see where those areas that we need to stay strong. We need to get strong first so that we can stay strong. And all of us can look at our individual businesses, our teams, our organizations, no matter what level of leadership you are, no matter what your position is in the community, we have to understand that our businesses, our positions, our communities, they will never grow beyond us. There is a leadership lid. And so this power of the pause that we've been given has given us an opportunity to see how can we take the limits off. Learn to ask why not over why when seeking a solution. When you are a transformational leader, you're not just sitting here saying, well, why is this happening? Why are we here in COVID-19? Why? And this is a different way of asking why. Because before I said we have, like Simon Sinek said, start with why, which is a powerful question, but it doesn't end there. A lot of times we have to ask, why not? Why can't I be more? Why can't I be a transformational leader? Why can't my business grow in the midst of COVID-19? Why can't I be organized? Why not? Why not? Transformational leaders say things that others just do not say. I believe that transformational leaders are always looking at things as from a glass half full perspective, and they're speaking over those things in a positive way. They're not sitting back complaining. They're not on the bandwagon of criticizing other people. Remember, they're asking people to make a difference. And so even the things that we talk about, or who we talk about, or how we talk about them, makes a huge difference in the mindset of a transformational leader. We're always going to see the positive in people. We're going to see the beauty. Here's the thing. Even we know everybody has flaws. We get that. But we're in a unique position where we can speak life into people. We can speak life into circumstances. We can speak life into our businesses. We can speak life into our communities. And a transformational leader is going to be one on the forefront of saying things that others, and when I say the others, that's in air quotes, others who don't see or believe like a transformational leader does. One of the best examples of a transformational leader that I could ever talk about, and this is just one of many, is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It took courage for him to be the voice of change when others opposed him. A transformational leader is not afraid of opposition. A transformational leader understands, maybe at one place or one point in my life, I was a people pleaser, but at the end of the day, the mission is bigger. The community cause is bigger. And so transformational leaders are voices of change. Transformational leaders believe things that others do not believe. I believe that on the other side of COVID-19, that we will all be embracing a new normal. I believe that is powerful. I believe it's progressive, and it's possible that we can move towards greater things, even in the midst of life happening to all of us. My question for you today, my friends, is do you believe that you can make a difference? I know some people on here said that they're a transformational leader, but do you also believe that as a transformational difference, your voice, your actions, your attitude, your why can make a huge difference in your community? You're one person, but remember the illustration that I had of the match? All it takes is one match to light a flame. Do you believe that you can make a difference, that you can be one on the forefront of what that change looks like? You can be talking different. You can be seeing different from other people. Do you believe that? And let me check in here on the chat. I see Robin says, I am working on the transformational side. My business has that name in it too. I love that. See, even Robin, the fact that you put transformation in your business, that is forward thinking. I love it. Janice says she's a transformational leader. Vicky, I love this, Vicky. Way to confess this. Vicky says, Vicky is a transformational leader. People want to follow, and I did say anything, but let's make a difference. Joanne says, I think the answer to what kind of leader one is lies within the people they lead. We may want to be so bold as to ask the people we lead what kind of leader we are, and then not be afraid of the answer. You know what? That's so true. That is so true. And that's why I always say, Joanne, it's an inside out job. We can't change other people or make people want anything. We can't. What we can do is lead by example. And again, this is me thinking glass half full. I think that when we lead by examples, yeah, there are going to be some people that buck the system. There's going to be some resistance. There's going to be some critics. And like the younger people say, there may even be some haters. But I believe that there will be more people impacted in a positive way. And if we're not distracted as a transformational leader, we can stay the course. Going back to my example of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Vicky said, God called me to preach. I asked him why, and he said, why not you? I have been turning my whys into why not ever since. I love that. Glad to have you back, Jenna. Janice said, yes, the new norm is going to be even better. And Brenda says, as transformational leaders, we can influence change. Be the change you want to see. That's it, y'all. That's it. So John F. Kennedy, one of our former presidents, says everyone has a change the world speech in them. I just so happen to be a speaker and a trainer and a coach. And a lot of times I am on platforms where I am speaking, coaching, or training people. But let me tell you, it didn't start there for me. My transformational journey started with me. And again, it was me being transformed. And I believe that all of us have that ability to change the world one person at a time. We have that in us. We just have to be willing to embrace it. And this next point is transformational leaders feel things others do not feel. A different world cannot be built by indifferent people. It's going to require passion. It's going to require empathy. It's going to require compassion in order to lead the way that we are required to. Paul Martinelli, who is he is the former president of the John Maxwell team. He says, when the light goes on in your life, you want to turn everyone else's light on. That screams contagious. When you are on fire, you want to set the world ablaze. You want to discover your purpose. You want to help others discover theirs. And a lot of times as a leader, that's why we have to have empathy, because some of the times the people that we're leading on our teams, they come to us in seed form. Okay, so I want you to lean into this and just expand your mind for a minute. Sometimes the people on our teams are in seed form, and they need the right transformational leader to help water and grow that potential, that seed that's in them. So instead of looking down on them and thinking, why can't they get it together? Or why are they so resistant? We've got to be the light. And maybe that light is going to be just the light that they need to step forward onto their path and become what they're supposed to be. That's a risk that we have to take as a transformational leader. And that goes to my next point. Transformational leaders do things that others do not do. Glass half full perspective, right? Transformational leaders are going to be the ones who are willing to take the risk in investing in people. Now, granted, everyone comes into our life, into our business, into our support circle, our village for a season, a reason, or a lifetime. I get that. Everybody that comes in is not meant to stay. Sometimes we have to do things like give people the gift of goodbye. And that's not a bad thing. That is just helping people to move on to their next so that they can grow in their purpose. I remember having an employee that she was with me, and I remember asking her a question one time because things just kind of weren't going Right. And I remember sitting down and asking her, what do you actually want to do? And she said, I actually want to, I've always had a dream of being a dental hygienist. And so this transformational leader did something. I said, well, you know what? I'm going to help you get to that. And that was the gift of goodbye. Giving her the gift of goodbye helped open up a whole new world for her to something that she's always dreamed of. We can't be afraid. We cannot be afraid to do things that others would not do. Yes, it might mean others may not understand, or it might bring criticism or whatever. But when you care about people, you care about people's well being to the point where maybe they're not meant to be with you, but you can help them get to their next, even if it's just sowing a seed. Question for you. Do you have a B.H.A.G? What is B.H.A.G? It's a big, hairy, audacious goal. When it came to 2020, did you have goals? Did you have a vision for your business, your leadership, your community? COVID-19 happened to all of us. And yes, we're in a situation where it's temporary, but what can you do, these audacious goals that you set? What can you do to recalculate, to redefine, to reestablish what that looks like? You may be in a place where you can't really do things like you want to now. Like a lot of us are restricted to doing meetings and everything through mediums like this, Zoom or FaceTime or whatever platform you decide. But what are you doing to prepare? Are you reconnecting with those goals now, whatever that looks like for you? One of the things that I'm doing is I had a goal to grow my business. And so part of what I'm doing right now is I'm reestablishing my foundation, which means in layman's terms, I'm trying to seal the cracks in my foundation. I'm taking advantage of this time. My goals yes, I may have to recalibrate how I approach them or things like that. But at the end of the day, I'm going to use this time to work on me so I can get strong, so that I can stay strong, so that my business can stay strong, so that I can lead well in my community. Dr. John C. Maxwell says, I would rather try something big that is almost impossible than something small that won't make a difference. Transformational leaders will take a risk and going after the thing. And again, your big thing, for some, it may be a step, for others, it's a mile. Your big thing, like I said, for me, it's sealing the cracks in my foundation. It's willing to make the adjustments. It's willing to reach out to the Chamber of Commerce and say, hey, I am willing to pitch a 5-part masterclass series, because doing something like this to make a difference is bigger and better than trying to stay small and only focus on the here and now. The next is focus on your transformation first. If you're going to stay strong so you can lead well, we teach what we know. That's what a trained leader will do. But a transformational leader, we reproduce who we are. Isn't that strong? And here's the equipping cycle when it comes to, again, whether it's your team. For some of y'all, it could be your community. Others, it could be your family. But here's the equipping cycle. I do it as a transformational leader. My next thing is I do it and you are with me. Who are you bringing along that you are sowing seeds of reproduction? Not for them to be you, because we're not out here trying to make people us. But who are you bringing along? Doesn't matter what stage of this transformational journey that you're on. We all should have people that we're pouring into, whether it's people on our team, whether it's people we're mentoring in the community. Who are you bringing along so that they can have proximity to you, so they can be transformed as well? The next thing is, as you're pouring into people, your team, people in your community, now you're equipping people to do it. But you don't just throw them out there. You do it and I am with you. Now you see a shift where they're doing it, and I'm still here to answer questions. I'm still here for inspiration. And sometimes inspiration is me sharing my journey or sharing my mistakes, but I'm not doing it for you. You're doing it. That's powerful when it comes to mentoring. And then when we're mentoring people or coaching people or leading people, we want them to get to the place where they're doing it. So the next part is you do it. And again, the more that we dig into this equipping cycle, the more we're kind of stepping away, because a transformational leader is not always going to be there. Remember, I said people come into our lives for seasons, reasons, or lifetimes. Well, a lot of times a transformational leader is getting people to the point where they can do for themselves. They're thinking for themselves. We're not micromanaging people. We're empowering people. And then ultimately, you want to get to the point where, as a transformational leader, you're saying you do it and someone else is with you. That's how we're going to build our communities, one leader at a time. It's going to start with you. And you have to see, you got to believe, you got to know, you got to feel that you can be a catalyst for positive change. Do you believe that? James Allen says, men are anxious to improve their circumstances, but are unwilling to improve themselves. They therefore remain bound. I'm crazy enough to believe that you showed up for this Stay Strong, Lead Well Masterclass because you're not the type of person who's the latter part of this statement where you want to remain bound in any area. I choose to believe that you're forward thinking and you say, hey, I want to work on me. I want to do the inner work so that I can be strong, stay strong, so that I can lead well. Because when you get to that place, your business will thrive, your community will thrive, your team will thrive, because you got healthy from the inside out. Another thing is we've got to take positive action based on our internal changes. So we do the work internally, and then we move forward in a positive direction. Where are you traveling? Let me move this. Where are you traveling from? Knowing to doing. Remember, I talked about there's 1 degree of separation between a trained leader and a transformational leaders. Now, let me kind of say this. I believe in the value of education. I do. I believe that we should always be developing our skills. I don't think leaders should ever stop doing that. In fact, you've heard the phrase leaders are readers. Leaders are self-educators. Leaders are forever students. We should always be doing something to educate ourselves, to improve our skills, getting the degrees, the certifications, whatever that looks like. But I don't think that's the only thing that we should be doing. I think we should always be in a place where we are increasing our knowledge, yes, but we should also be in a place where we're implementing. That's the doing, where we're practicing. And in that practicing, that's what we're doing. We're paying it forward. Gandhi says, an ounce of practice is worth more than tons of preaching. It's not always in what we say. A lot of times it's in what we do. And there's the balance that we've got to strike that balance. And that balance is going to look different on everyone. In fact, I call it finding your rhythm. Transformation is a result of application, not just education. I am so grateful for each of you coming onto this masterclass again, whether this is your first time or whether this is your 5th time. But one of the things I hope is that you've been taking notes during this process, and that maybe not everything applies to you, but maybe there is one thing that you want to dig deeper in, you want to explore more, so that you take it from information and now you move to application. And transformation is, are you sharing it with others? Has anyone actually shared any of this with your team? Anything that you've learned? Maybe it's one of the exercises that I mentioned, like the SWOT analysis or the expectations conversation. Has there been any nuggets that you have shared with other people? because a transformational leader is going to be one. Remember I said, like the light, when we're set on fire on the inside, we want to help other people get on fire. It's almost like we're hope dealers. We're saying, man, this was so good. Let me share this with you. That's a key thing for transformational leaders is we don't want to hoard information for ourselves. We're not just looking out for ourselves to see how can we get ahead, how can we do the things that we need to do to improve. We can't wait to share it with other people. That's a true mark of application right there. Robin says, yes, with my team family. Kimberly says, yes, I have. I love it. I love it. So as a transformational leader, that one degree of separation is we've got to have the courage to let go of the familiar. There is a new normal that all of us are going to have to adjust to on the other side of COVID-19. Some things we're not going to be able to go back to. In fact, some of you may have just been introduced to things like Zoom or Skype meetings or whatever platform of your choice for the first time. Maybe you've been resistant to it because maybe you've said something like, well, I just prefer in-person stuff. And maybe in this introduction, you're having to leave the familiar of always doing things the way that you've always done them. Or maybe some of you have to have the courage of letting go of the familiar of just doing things by yourself or on your own. Maybe some of you all are in companies where maybe you're not the top leader on the team. Maybe you are a leader, though, in some capacity, and you've got to let go of the familiar of always expecting other people to come up with the answers or come up with the solutions. You've got to let go of the familiar of being quiet, and you've got to now have the courage to speak up and take the risk. That's going to look different for everyone. Or maybe your letting go of the familiar is letting go of assuming that growth is automatic. This may have been a wake-up call for you during this season where you've got to be able to let go of things coming easy to you. Okay, whatever that looks like for you, I'm here to tell you that courage, it's in there. You've just got to go digging for the treasure that's already in you. And all of us have the voice of fear and we have the voice of courage that are competing for our attention. It's just a matter of which voice are you going to let speak the loudest. Janice says, I believe there are times and situations when we are pushed into greatness. Yep. Sandra says, stepping into the unknown puts me into panic mode. I have to grow through that in order to share the steps with those who grab my hand. Sandra, let me tell you, thank you for that honesty, because that's a lot of reasons why we cling to the familiar or we cling to our comfort zone, because maybe it's all we've known. And to get outside of that, yeah, we have to, what it does, it uncovers things like anxiety or the discomfort or the insecurity or you name it, the list goes on. But that's why we also have to have the courage to let people help us, to let people in. And for those of you all who have team members, your answer could very well be in your team, like where you maybe feel like you've had to have all the answers. I would venture to say that if you started just asking, maybe it's a matter of just saying, hey, what do you think about this? Or asking for their input. I guarantee you that your answer may be wrapped up in the very people that are already in your proximity. You could be an independent contractor and you've had people that have been speaking into your life, and you just need to make it official and ask, will you mentor me? Will you coach me? Will you be my accountability partner? Alicia says, growing up as an introvert and now blossoming into an extrovert has given the voice that was never heard. I love that. Here's another essential: create an environment that promotes positive change. Jim Collins says, transformational movements require transformational leaders. If we are going to lean into the community shift, we have to lean into the fact that it's going to start with us. And here's some requirements for a positive environment. It's going to require leaders who are passionate about transformation. Remember earlier, I said people who are just not empathetic, but lack empathy, who lack passion, who lack feeling, are going to have a hard time understanding this concept. It's going to require you to be passionate about transformation itself, that whole metamorphosis. It's going to require passion and embracing that. I love this by Lawrence Tribble. It says, one man awake awakens another. The second awakens his next door brother. The three awake can rouse a town by turning the whole place upside down. The many awake can cause such a fuss, it finally awakens the rest of us. One man up with dawn in his eyes surely then multiplies. Will you be that man or woman? Another requirement for positive environment is resources that teach good values. How many of you all have, within the last 6 weeks, within this 2020, actually written down your core values? Businesses have core values. Businesses have mission statements. And just like I said in an earlier training, sometimes businesses do things like SWOT analysis because they're getting ready to make a change, a shift, or a transition. I believe, again, we can learn a lot from business principles. And here's another one. Have you written down your core values? If you haven't, I challenge you, make a note to do this later on. What are your core values? What are the standards that you need to lead with? Here's some examples, but I'll share mine. One of mine is honesty. That is a huge core value for me. One of them is perseverance. Being in a situation back in 2000, I think it was 2008, when stuff in our economy, like my husband went to work one day and found out that the whole company was shutting down. We went through our own personal crisis, not just with that, but in other things. On the other side of that, there were some values that were birthed that I'm clinging to. And that's what gives me the drive, the tenacity, the hunger to want to keep going. And that's what sets me on fire, that I want to set other people on fire. But do you know what you stand for? Again, if you haven't done this, I would challenge you, make a note for yourself to go back and do this exercise, because everything you do should lead with your core values. Another requirement is small groups where people learn and participate. Do you have a community that you can check in with, a sub-community? You know, many of you are members of the Chamber of Commerce, and I love that. I am a proud member as well. But within even the Chamber of Commerce, do you have your subgroups? One of them is I'm an ambassador for the Chamber of Commerce, and I have loved getting to know some of the other ambassadors. But there's other things that I love about small groups, is because small groups can bring big growth. In my village, I've got my accountability partners, I've got my mentors, my coaches, but I also have small groups that I check in with where all of us can sharpen each other. Small groups are where people can learn and participate. We share ideas, speak about themselves with candor and honesty, state their intentions, and hold one another accountable. A lot of y'all have small businesses where this can be established in your teams, in your team meetings, in your businesses. When you run your team meetings, do you treat it with this in mind, where everybody knows when they show up, they can share their ideas? Do they understand that there's accountability, there's safety there, there's trust there? I love masterminds. Has anybody, and I'm looking at the chat, has anybody ever been a part of a mastermind? Maybe it's been a part of one that I've led, because I facilitate and run masterminds. But has anybody ever been a part of a mastermind, or are you currently part of a mastermind right now? That's a great example of a small group where iron sharpens iron, where it's the collective minds that come together. It doesn't require a big group of people. It's just about bringing like-minded visionaries or like-minded people together. Robin says yes. Napoleon Hill, who wrote the book Think and Grow Rich, he talked a lot about masterminds. He says, deliberately seek the company of people who influence you to think and act on building the life you desire. And you can substitute that word life for business, the kind of business you want to desire, the kind of family you want to desire. I have small groups that I'm a part of or that I lead in my church. You can substitute that word for life for any area of your life, your business, your community. Maybe there's a community small group where you want to come together and be a part of a proactive change in your community. Mastermind groups are powerful. Another requirement for positive environment is commitment to reproduce leaders. Like I said, we have to be the kind of transformational leaders where we're not just going to hoard information. We're not even going to hoard opportunities, y'all. We're going to reproduce other leaders, because when we can be the fire and set other people on fire, guess who benefits? A whole community of people. And when a community is set on fire, guess who benefits? Our world benefits. So this is bigger than us. If you think that you're leading, but no one is really following you, then you're not really a leader. You're just taking a walk. Ouch, but so true. We've got to get to a place as a transformational leader where we're not expecting people to follow just because we have the title. Just because I started a business, now they're going to come. What are we going to do to add value to people so that they feel in our presence that they can be anything or do anything within them? Trained leaders could sustain a group, but transformed leaders could gather, grow, or reproduce groups. They could train other leaders who reach other people and trains other leaders. Are you grooming your replacements? And I know that sounds like, but I like what I do. I love what I'm doing. And I'm not saying stop. All I'm saying is, are you grooming someone else? Because you have a next level that you need to grow into. But are you grooming someone else now, whether through mentoring, whether being a part of a mastermind group, whether it's being in your community or even in your business? Are you pouring into someone else? Here's a formula. Individual transformation leads to group transformation, which leads to community transformation. And this is the communication shift right here. It starts with the person, but it doesn't stop there. Your transformation has got to spark in others. And when others do that, a whole community is transformed. The next thing I want to talk about, the essential, is commitment. And this is a pattern. It's got to be top down, small to big, and inside out. No other way, y'all. And finally, every transformational leader has a transformational story. Goes back to what I mentioned with Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why. Why do you want to be a transformational leader? For me, I know it started with my story. I've been a full-time entrepreneur for, I always get the numbers mixed up. It's either 16 or 17 years. Time flies when you're having fun, right? But I know when I leaned into being a speaker, author, coach, especially being a John Maxwell executive director, it started with my own story. I was an entrepreneur, small business owner right here in this local community. I had a court reporting business and I was trained. I was equipped. I had the skill. I had the knowledge. I had a team of 20 subcontractors that were working with me. But it wasn't until I hit a wall myself. I was a public success, but a private mess. Okay, if you can picture that. It looked good on paper. It looked really good, but privately, I was suffering in silence. There was a lot of cracks in my foundation. And it wasn't until I reached out for help. Help came from me in the form of a life coach. And that life coach really held up a mirror and she really helped me to see me. She helped me to really dig into my purpose, to dig into my why, and to help me to understand that this is bigger than me. Like when I started the court reporting business, I told y'all in session 1, I had tunnel vision for making money, for being a success. But that was all about me. But when I went through that personal crisis, the gift was the awareness that it's bigger than me. And being on this side of it now, being the owner of Maximize Growth LLC, I realized that part of my purpose is really helping leaders to understand themselves, to really unleash the full potential that's in them so that they can stay strong, so they can lead well and help others be on fire. And it's through their business, it's through their community efforts, it's through their families. And I would almost guarantee that if you tapped into your full transformational story, I guarantee you that you will be that kind of leader who not only gets strong, but you'll stay strong and you'll understand how to lead well. And these are just some thought-provoking questions. What are you going to do to lead your transformation and not just rely on training alone? What are you avoiding doing because it's getting difficult? Embrace the difficulty, embrace the conflict, embrace COVID-19. Because on the other side of this, there's a greater purpose. What characteristics of a transformational leader do you need to develop? And here's the recap, the 5 essentials for transformational leadership. It's a clear picture, it's focus, it's gonna take action, it's gonna take creativity, but more than anything, it's gonna take commitment from you. And I wanna thank you for investing your time in this series. Again, whether you've been on day 1 or session 1, or whether you have been in all of the sessions with me, I wanna thank you for investing your time, because that's what it's going to take. And it's not just in this series, but even on the other side of this, so that you can stay strong and lead well. And I'm going to talk about next steps. But before I do, and I'm going to bring Jenna back in. But I want you to answer for me in the chat. What are some of the things that really are standing out for you? What are your next steps after this? What are going to be some of the things that immediately that you do as a result of this? Okay, Jen, I think I've got you patched back in now.
Hey, I'm so sorry about that. Major IT tech issues today, so I do apologize. Great session though.
Oh, that's okay. And I have a couple more I want to share real quick. I just want to make sure I got you in before we ended. If anyone needs help in any of the areas that I've talked about, whether it's been in session 1 or any of the sessions, again, that's part of my passion. And what I'm extending is reach out to me. Here's my email address. It's tasha@tashamscott.com. Whether it was help with the SWOT analysis, the expectations conversation, the DISC, or maybe it's just digging deeper into your purpose of leadership so that you can get strong. And for everyone on here, I definitely have a free gift, because maybe you are at a place where you know you need to lean in more into your leadership. Maybe you're at the beginning of starting a team, or you're knee deep or head deep in the team. But here's a free gift. This is an executive brief. It's basically how to invest in your team. And all you have to do is just email me. It's tasha@tashamscott.com, and just put strong in the comment, in the subject line. Just put strong in the subject line at this email, and I will make sure that you get a copy of this executive brief. And finally, I want to say thank you to the Montgomery Area Chamber of Commerce for embracing this partnership. And I'm going to turn it over to you now, Jenna.
Awesome. Tasha, thank you so much. How gracious to do this for us and then to offer a gift to the participants. So even the ones that weren't here through the whole 5-part series, I was able to listen to even the ones that I didn't participate in, and just like I said, a breath of fresh air and just something that we really need to get us through this time. So just excited and anxious, just like everybody else. I know I've said that in some of the other sessions, to kind of come out on the other side and see what that looks like. But what a way to build up the community and build up our companies and our businesses in this time of rest, as you say.
Yes.
Again, I just want to thank you for participating, participants who are on the call today and the ones who participated throughout the series. And Tasha, we just, like I said, can't thank you enough for everything that you do for us. You mentioned that you are an ambassador, and we could not do what we do without our ambassador team. So thank you for taking the time to do that and serving with us. I do want to mention really quickly, we have a huge announcement. We are launching a call this afternoon from 3 to 6 o'clock. And we've never done this before, but it's a Small Business Connects call. And we have a wide variety of local experts who will be on the call and be able to answer questions related to COVID, whether it's tax issues, unemployment issues, loan issues. We're partnering with, it's a partnership with the City of Montgomery County Commission, the ASU, SBDC over at Alabama State. And then we have just tons of, like I said, wide variety of our partners who are going to participate. And so I just encourage those of you who feel like you're struggling and you can't find the resources or the information that you need to call in. That information is actually on our website. I'm sorry, I had the number right in front of me, and of course now I can't find it. But it's on our website. It's montgomerychamber.com/events. And again, that call is today from 3 to 6 o'clock. Outside of that, we're just continuing like everyone else to manage and navigate through COVID. We really hope that there is going to be a relief here in the next couple of weeks, and that we will be able to return to what we are all going to call a new normal. But we are continuing our programming. There's going to be some things that are going to launch and that we're going to announce in the next couple of weeks that we're really excited about. One of those would be Small Business Week, and that would be May 3rd, or 4th through the 8th is the week of. But again, everything that we have, resources that are available and information is on our website, montgomerychamber.com. We have the COVID resource page too. We will be updating that daily, hourly as things happen. And we're just, anxious, like I said, to continue and to get back into the office and continue to connect and engage the way that we were before. So just remember that we are here for you. The Chamber does that anyway, even from a distance. We connect you to the people that you need or the resources that you need to be successful as a business in Montgomery. And so we just want to help build up the community in any way that we can. So we're just gracious again, like I said, Tasha, for your partnership, and just excited that you were able to bring this 5-part series to us and that we were able to launch it, our first virtual work together business studio event with you.
Yes, it's been fun. Thank you.
Saw the chat bubble go up. Just a couple of people just saying thanks. So great job.
Thank you. And I definitely want to acknowledge Alicia said her next step is she's going to recreate her brand and be the hope dealer for the communities that she serves. That's awesome.
Oh, I love that. That is awesome.
Yes. And again, I just want to remind everybody that if you want the executive brief, this is definitely a detailed description on things that you can do to invest in your team strategy. Because again, at the end of the day, transformational leaders transform in more ways than we could ever realize. So I'm so grateful for this, and I can't wait to see all this transformation happening on the other side of COVID-19. But I can't wait to hear about the work that's being done now in the midst.
I'm excited about that too. So thanks again. I did write down a few notes again today, which I loved, that the transformational leader is a visionary. And we obviously think that most of you in the community are. And so we're excited to see what new processes and procedures and just new innovations and how people are adapting through this crisis and how we can continue to carry that on and just make for a better community and build our businesses up when we get done. So
absolutely.
Like I said, just excited about what's to come.
Yes, ma'am. And Tamisha asked if I would repeat the free gift. This is an executive brief, which is a report on, it's a 6-step team investment strategy for long-term profitability. And all of us are in business to prosper and profit, right? But it's going to take a team to do that. So this free gift is a report that goes into detail on how to do that. So all you do is just email Tasha at tashamscott.com. In the subject line, just write strong, and I'll be sure you get this gift.
That's awesome. Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome. All right, well, that's all I have today, Jenna.
Perfect. And do you want to let people know that you are sending out the recording? And then we are also hosting the previous recordings on our website. So if for some reason you lose the email and you can't find them, you can go to montgomerychamber.com and we've got those listed in our videos and our media tab.
Yes. Thank you, Jenna.
No, thank you. I hope everybody has a good rest of the day and weathers through the rest of the storms. And just like I said, know that we're here for you. And Tasha, if we can do anything for you in this process, let us know.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your week. And thank you for being on the journey.
Thanks again.
All right. Bye.